Video games like to do those little secret checks, and I really wouldn't put. Oh, hello, sir. I just saw you there. Oh my god. Um. Hello, sir. I have my gun. Wait, stop! I don't know if I'm gonna auto proc something. I have my gun, right? Okay. I have one bullet. If things go horrifically south, I have one bullet. Hello, sir. How doth the day fareth for you on this lonely island?
An old man wearing tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp.
Are you the fire guy?
The what now? I can't hear you.
Sorry. Did you recently tell two kids to put out their fire? Twin boys.
I may have. All sorts of little rats have come sniffing around, trying to give up the position.
The position sounds like a hiding place.
Fire guy. Regressive bourgeoisie henchman. Can't even talk like a grown-up.
Already I'm getting a sense that either he's not all there because of injuries during the war. Well, quite clearly he thinks he's in a war still. Not in a war, he's from a war. Or he is too into the war that is still going on in his head, that even obvious children he sees as henchmen. It's one of the two. See that you've retained your eyesight.
My eyesight? Yes. Helps me see all the shit.
And did you close the blast doors that I came through?
I did. And you opened it. How?
Well, there was no more fuel in the generator. I just poured some in, and then used the console.
I should have burned that console down.
He shakes his head. So how'd you know I was coming?
The boat engine. On the water.
Fair. Also, I can't help but notice that you have a pretty nice gun in your hands.
It's not nice. It's a piece of shit. But it gets the job done.
I see. And I agree with that. A Bill Mulgrave, right?
It's a 3-Angong 446.
A totally different gun?
Southeast Samaran made. Exotic. Must be defunct too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name springs to mind.
A Samaran rifle. How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Sinyao commune. Military aid.
He pats the rifle.
It has stayed true to him. He can still make it sing.
The Sinyao commune?
You heard me. It's good now. Like chalk wiped from the board.
His gaze turns inwards.
He's right. Almost no one remembers there was a third metastasis of the world revolution in the Safre Empire, extinguished in '06.
Well, I wouldn't say it's completely wiped from the board. After all, I remember it.
They wouldn't like hearing their name in your mouth. Damn dog.
Well, be that as it may, I can see that your weapons have stayed true to you. Mine has stayed true to me too.
Yes, I bet you've killed a lot of people with it. You fascist fuck. Have you come to make me one of them?
His grip on the rifle tightens. I hesitated to pick that, and I picked it anyway.
We have come to ask you questions, nothing more.
The lieutenant puts his hand on his holster.
If you do not comply, we will take you in. Do you understand?
Another spitball lands in the ashes. That's all the answer he gives. And it's as my partner says, we're just here to talk, but we have to ask you to put that gun down first. We're with the police.
The lieutenant pulls his pistol from the holster.
You are a glorified night watchman. This is a service rifle. I can only lay it down before an enemy commander of corresponding rank.
And yet here I am. That very same enemy commander of rank that you are looking for. So put the gun down.
The words, "I am an enemy commander," sound cold as iron from your lungs. The old man still hugs his gun.
Ooh, I was hoping that would pass. That relief just went woof.
And what rank would that be, dog?
Lieutenant W. Freighter.
A big wheel of the 4th Regiment of the Pederast Army. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway. It's out of bullets.
The old man lays the rifle down, carelessly, then stares at it, just lying there.
Like an amputated limb in the sand.
You can still use it as a weapon, though.
His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire. Still warm from his parched hands. Not the metal. The metal is ice cold. This weapon has been modified several times.
Jeez. This is like a patchwork gun at this point.
The rifle's in a shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. On the butt, you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Triangon, 4.46mm, made in Sinyao.
As he said, a Triangong made in Xingyao.
No one said it has to be a Belmagrave. We were just guessing.
From ballistics, it could easily have been a Triangon, too.
It doesn't matter if it was made in Shanti Shanti. All it has to do is use jacketed ammunition. And it does.
Exactly so. 4.46.
The right type and the right calibre.
The lieutenant nods, glancing at the gun. Not to mention that this rifle has been patched and modified several times.
I wonder how old it is.
The old man does not answer. He just stares in front of him.
You know, honestly, I did not know what I was thinking when I was thinking of the killer. I was thinking of a young person. Not an old gentleman who seems to at least partially think that he is still in the war.
The old man keeps following your motion with his gaze. His right arm twitches suddenly. Some kind of involuntary response. Something is slightly off with his motorics. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It could be used against him to get a confession. In time.
Alright. For starters, who are you?
My name is Josef Lilianovich Dross, Political Commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol. I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender.
His eyes turn to the reeds again, dead and dull.
The commune of Revachol? Do you mean the ICM? Your holdover from the...
From the Insulindian Citizens Militia, the army of the revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in '07, trained in the École de Contrôle Orient, and consigned to emergency defense duties in '08.
Yeah, you are old, sir. Like, that was... We're in 51, I believe. That was 44 years ago. You must have enlisted when you were just just before being an adult, or just after?
I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen. Still armed and ideologically trained, I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties.
So he abandoned his men. Damn. And how long have you been on this island?
43 years. No. I've been on other islands too. I was in Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was on E48, a nameless sound, until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was 22 years ago.
So you've been hiding here for 43 years.
43 years and 10 months.
I'm not gonna lie, that is quite some steadfast determination.
It's not how a human being should live. But I had to. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw.
He just couldn't.
You couldn't give up.
He nods. But he can now.
What have you been doing during all this time?
Hiding, fishing, waiting.
He looks across the water.
Where it's morning, on Rue de Saint-Gislain, people are walking. The gas street lights have already been switched off. Further inland, in Jamrock, the streets come alive with workers. Men, women, children rushing. Muddy avenue after muddy avenue. The temperature is rising. Alto cumulus clouds form above Precinct 41.
Always waiting.
The old man turns his eyes from the shore and back to you. But for what?
For her to return.
Her who?
Girl child. Revolution.
Girl child revolution. Huh. Well, you know, I just came from over there. I can assure you that is not what the people are planning.
I am not a fool. I know. The material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind. The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It will not come back anymore, however hard I try, whatever I do.
He stays here because he can't forget about the war. And he can't give up. Because he's waiting for another revolution to happen again, or in some form of the word, continue. That is my interpretation of him and why he's been on these islands all these years since the war. He can't let it go. And what is this place? This island?
It's not an island, Dwat. It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol. And I am its last surviving defender.
Well, as a defender, I would assume you know what this is used for.
The congenitally deformed King Philip II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the fort with an AA gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world.
Landing. You mean the retaking of Revachol?
Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow. I later found out on the radio they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone.
Well, I'm someone who's come to end this madness.
Iblis.
Iblis.
He nods.
I may not fully understand, but now's not the time to be asking otherwise pointless questions. I think what I need to do right now is mentally disarm him. Right now. Like, mentally disarm him. And you said that you deserted your unit.
I was just 16 years old. 15 when I volunteered. I had a lapse of faith. And of courage, too.
I figured you had to have been not an adult yet. By most of the world's standards, you weren't an adult yet. And that's... I mean, nowadays in the modern world, it's like, you are not 18, get out of here. But just imagine, like, the wars in the 1800s of Europe, America, you know, like, people wanted to be patriotic and lying about their age to get into military service. You know, they say they're 18, but really they're 17, 16, hell, maybe even 15, but can pass. You know, so I get it. I'm not surprised, considering this was like 43-ish years ago in this game. I'm not surprised he was that young. I call it too. He was either just before or just after 18. A lapse of faith?
You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat and thought Mazovian socioeconomics were fallible. For a second, I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took.
For what?
For reaction to take hold.
I mean, I'm not even going to pretend to understand this, because this is all politics. And like I said last episode, a couple episodes ago, I really suck at politics. But just from a reading standpoint, just plain reading, I can see that he had a certain kind of ideology. And especially at an impressionable age of 16/15, it makes sense that he thought that a certain political view was, you know, was better than another. It makes sense that he would think, in this case, the Mazovian social economics is a fallible idea, something that can and will fail. Makes sense. Well, it wasn't reaction. You were just afraid.
It's the same thing. You haven't seen it. Not really. Not naked. It's impossible not to be afraid.
It remains unclear what it is. He makes leaps he doesn't expect you to follow.
And this was when?
The lieutenant instinctively looks to his notebook, but does not take it out.
May the 13th, 08, 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds. Storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic.
Dark magic.
The combined might of international capital. All at once, all the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower.
He gestures towards it.
Huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in Ozon, but I knew. I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash. So I said I was going to the map room.
He looks east.
A terrible shame still within him. The lobes of his ears are red with it. The shame and smallness of what he became.
He said going to the map room, but he knew they were going to die, so he ran and hid. I understand being in the military, you can't just do that. You are abandoning post, disobeying direct orders, and that is punishable. I get that. Yeah, at the same time, from a human mentality standpoint, I also get that he's scared. He listened to his natural instinct to run away, self-preservation, to not die. You didn't go to the map room.
No. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers there, like the weakest of the weak. A mouse, frightened of the ordnance all night, and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring.
He looks at the sky. What was that?
Airships. I climbed out into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too. Shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels, or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality.
In what?
The mask of humanity fall from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone, everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off just for 1 second to do the deed. And then you see it, as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know.
What?
That the bourgeois are not human.
That is a good description. I mean, just a good description. I can't even continue the sentence. It's just a good description. Humanity is the thing that makes us humans. Like, we care about each other to some degree. It's not our natural inclination, outside of wartime and all that, to say, hey, I don't like you simply because such and such. Here's a gun to the face. Boom. You know, that's not how... That's not our natural inclination as members of humanity. And here he is in the war and saying that he saw, for the briefest of moments, the humanity does not exist. The facade that is humanity has lifted. And all that's there is the cold, hard truth that in that moment for him, in that moment, humanity is just in another ideological thought. It does not exist. Nothing exists except death and destruction. The cold, hard truth of just death. That's something.
I had to fight it. I had to never stop.
The old man falls silent. His black eyes keep piercing your skin as he looks to some great distance behind you, shaking his head slowly, retreating from it. Wow. He had to fight against that. What he had to fight what was hiding behind that facade of humanity. He's seen it, and now he can't forget about it to the point that he has to keep fighting against it. So how have you survived all this time?
How does anyone survive? I steal.
Now hold on there.
Yeah, but that's a choice. You could have just become self-employed, create the system, a brand new one for yourself. Maybe have the world follow along.
You're insane and grotesque. Everyone steals. Vegetables, supplies. It's the life of a dog.
He coughs once more, then puts his hand on his belly.
How is your health, Mr. Dross?
I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stool, too.
He does seem frail. Good for his age. More like 75 than 65. Trouble putting on weight could mean cancer.
I was gonna say it's either intestinal bleeding, tuberculosis, but then he said passing it into stool. Yeah, that's a sign of that's a very good sign of cancer.
The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over.
I need to die. You don't have medical facilities. You have guns. That's all they give you. Toy guns.
Well, we have Dramamine and other opioid-based painkillers. I mean, you must be in pain.
I have been running out of that stuff.
A light goes on in his eyes. He smacks his dry lips.
There's no way he could manage the pain without them. It's safe to say he is addicted to painkillers by now.
You like that Dramamine, don't you?
It's the little joys. A dark joke. A sunshiny day. Morphine.
And how have you coped mentally with this?
I haven't. I have holes in my brain. Years missing. Others filled with pain only. A decade of...
His eyes roll into his skull and back.
I don't even know what. Inferno?
Well, that I can relate to. I also live in, at the very least, my personal version of hell.
At least you know it. The traders of this city turned the lights back on in the 30s, after the fighting stopped. Ruins, glittering in the dark like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting.
He looks down at his shoes, his face parched from the sun and wind. There's a wince of pain in there somewhere. He really is stuck in the past. I mean, it's obvious I said that he is stuck in the past, but something about this comment just really struck home for me that he really is in the past. He's basically seen his version of the end of the world, and now he can't bear to see the world going back to normal. 'Cause for him, there is no more normal. It's just the war. And here he is on the islands, seeing the world around him lighting back up, going back to its day-to-day. And he can't accept it. He can't, he can't understand why it's happening. And how have you concealed yourself all these years?
It was hard in the Thames. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds. Floodlights on the water at night.
There were posters, campaigns.
We communards still hoped. and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Cold City were turned to dust. But Jamrock, Forburg, even Coron, and Boogie Street, of course. Those fucking kips had Marsov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol was still fighting. There were cells. I tried to contact them. Soon they all went silent. The frequency's dead.
You know, I just remembered. Revachol or Martinez, one of the two, I forget, the bigger picture one, is just a puppet state. I can better understand why he feels like the lights turning on and things going to some semblance of normal is a lie. Because in a sense, it is. They are just a puppet state. They don't even have their own autonomy. And yet everything is trying to go back to normal. So how did you get between here and the mainland?
At night, I used a dinghy. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city, I stayed underground. Patrols, you lot, the commons too. They'd started snitching.
In the city, you move underground?
From bunker to bunker. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted.
He falls silent, his gaze fixed on the shacks huddled together across the water. Why don't you just walk there?
I don't want to. They're all traitors. Pigs, rabbits, and dogs. Men without ideals are only animals.
Like I said, it's now a puppet state, and everyone has just resigned themselves, in his eyes, resigned themselves to the new way of life. And here's this man who remembers before they became a puppet state. So to him, everyone in the city are traitors. The weapons cache under San Ghislaine 22B, in the basement. Have you been there?
So you finally found it. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Elmer Graves, right?
Yes, though damaged beyond use.
I know.
So you've been there?
Sleeping. Some nights. Ammo scrounging on others. Those McGraves were shit, even before they corroded. Some had bullets in the chamber, however.
You feel the dots connecting. Little dots on the map he's walked across.
That would explain where he got the bullets, and this gun uses the same type. And there's also a small bunker under the Fell building. Have you stayed there?
The propaganda bunker. I used to, but not anymore.
Propaganda bunker?
They stored leaflets there. Broadcasting equipment, too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys.
They killed themselves?
A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them. No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins, on the ground.
2 young boys. I'm assuming they were as impressionable as you were. And when they see everything falling apart behind them, their ideals just going. It's interesting. Like, I'm getting a first-hand account of what the war was like through someone who's lived before, during, and after the war, and was even taking part in the war. It's It's a lot like in real life when you talk to someone, and I'm just using an example here, okay? Like, you talk to someone, a veteran of World War II, and you get their insight of how life was before, during, and after, and what they did during, in this example, World War II. This is exactly what I'm feeling like here right now, because, quick sidebar, my dad was in part of the Vietnam War, and I've heard him tell stories of his life before, during, and after. So I know what I'm saying when I say that this feeling of listening to someone recount such a portion of their lives, eh, to certain details, that it's like they never forgot it. They never... Well, for my dad, he knows that he's left and he's not traumatized by it. So by some great stroke of fate and luck there, he's not traumatized. But yes, I recognize the feeling I'm getting here of, here's this person telling me his life from the war. And I'm just listening, understanding that this is a very, I wouldn't say private, because my dad is not ashamed to tell his side of the story, and just for the record, he was born and raised in Vietnam, and fought in the Vietnam War, so he is from Vietnam. He wasn't an American that went over there to fight, because I know some people are going to be saying like it wasn't America's fight to play, which that's up to interpretation. I don't care about that. But my dad was from Vietnam. He was in raised in Vietnam, so in a sense, it was his war to fight. Yeah, I understand. I'm getting that feeling that I understand listening to this man recount his memories of this of the war. It's interesting to be getting that feeling here. One more question: do you smoke Tiom... Oh god. Tiomotiri cigarettes, I forgot how to pronounce that.
I do.
Ever smoked them on the mainland?
They're good. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the pack, too. Reminds me of the last century.
I see. How about some, other things, if you don't mind?
The old man looks across the water at the city, the ruins, the motorways rising above it.
So, you said that this is your termless surrender.
You're with the RCM, the coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Revachol. A so-called Lieutenant W. Freighter.
Yes, we're at the RCM. And I think it's best to just leave it at that.
Let's. You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity who took this city. I represent their adversary, le Parti Communiste d'Insolande.
Le Parti Communiste d'Insolande. The Communist Party of the Insolend.
Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity.
His hand shakes and he breaks into a coughing fit. Yeah, I chose that because I know... I chose this because I know he's looking at a much deeper picture. A picture that's born from his political viewpoints. If I say anything, he's just going to counter it. And there's no point in going into a war of words through politics. There's no point.
A spray of blood from his mouth on the black charcoal in the fire pit. Rene, the royalist on the coast, said,
The communards, they signed a Revacholian instrument of surrender, didn't they?
Liberal reactionaries signed that instrument. Traitors who should have been burned alive. I answer to the Communist Party.
Is that part of why you've been here all this time? Because the party didn't surrender?
He just wipes the blood from his chin.
Honorable.
Honor is a feudal atavism. My motive is class.
So you're a communist soldier from the communist army.
No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army.
And yet you were trained and assigned to the Defense Corps. Even sent out on an emergency status in '08.
Trained in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something.
So what does a political commissar do?
The old man does not answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs.
His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follows the ideology of the Commune.
The lieutenant says softly.
Scientific communism. A commissaire politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human.
Awakened from shutdown by the promise of ideology.
So the army answers to civilian control. Huh. Interesting. Not the other way around. I misread that. I thought it was the other way around, that the civilian answers to army control. No. Huh. And follows the ideology of the commune. Well, that part's fair. And the army answers to civil... Well, I guess it's to make sure that the army doesn't, like, try to flex its muscle unnecessarily, especially to the citizenry of, in this case, Revachol. That would make sense, yeah. So you're a trained communist.
He nods slowly. Then another tremor.
He looks away to the sea and lets out a cough. If you don't mind, I have another question for you. This one more serious than the others.
There's nothing serious in this world. It's a farce.
I could, but 5. I need a 9 or higher. Why the hell not?
For a 60-year-old man with who spent his entire life alone on an uninhabited island, he seems surprisingly fit.
Really? That's it?
He's clearly a drug user of the painkiller sort, prone to erratic hand gestures, and malnourished. But that's it. The moment passes, and you say...
And I say, damn, that critical failure most likely gave me a loss of health. God damn, that was like, Jesus. What have you been using this gun for?
I've used it for killing people.
Killing people?
It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people.
Interesting. During or after the war?
There is no after the war. Class war is never over.
Truer words in any context have never been spoken. The class war is never... There's never an end to the class war. There never is.
So he's continued killing after hostilities ended. Okay. This is it. You can feel it, like battery acid on the tip of your tongue. Something you haven't felt in a while. But
But what?
This is what you live for. This is the shit. The great serotonin jackpot.
The arrest.
The solution. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. No. Be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal.
No, he likes telling his life story. So it would be best if it came to him. From him. But no euphemisms. Just straight to the point. That's putting words into his mouth. That's being too direct. No, this one. Yeah, right here. I know that you want to tell me. Have you killed anyone with that gun in the last week or two?
I don't want to tell you anything, you grotesque murderer.
And why did you think that was a good idea? Don't listen to me. I'm wrong all the time.
Well, excuse me. Maybe I misread the question. Have you ever done that? Ugh. So you're saying you've killed people after active fighting had stopped?
What did I just say?
He keeps shaking his head, erratically suddenly. He brushes something out of his eye.
What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now.
Okay, that was not the choice I would have thought, but, okay. I guess being super direct is the way to go. Well, I mean, it is the most direct now that I think hindsight, but that was my last choice. Did you use that gun to shoot and kill the colonel of the security contractor Crenel?
The who now?
He leans in and cups his ear.
He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it again. This is dramatic flair on his part. Right choice. We're in. Do it, sire.
The fascist death squad who took a bullet in the mouth on the night of March 4th.
Oh, yes. That one. Ugly piece of work, that boy.
Did you kill him?
The lieutenant takes a sudden step toward him.
I am a son of a welder and an officer of the commune of Revachol. I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime.
A drop of blood in the saliva. Exhaust him with proof. Pile it all on him. Get a confession. The gun. The murder weapon is the perfect opener. The scent of blood in the air. But what else? There was something you can't remember. Something about the tracks. Suddenly, all those tracks are so confusing. Go with something else first.
Well, we done ballistics. The shot came from this island.
I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascies. Did you like the view?
You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete, specifically meant for a top follower to use. And you had a long-range rifle in your possession.
The lieutenant softens his voice.
You've been here a long time, Mr. Dros. Too long. You clearly need medical aid.
I'm ready to die. I've done my part.
He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascists for fascists. Done his part.
You said fascies. No. An uninterrupted line of sight into that window in all of Martinez.
Because it's a sniper's nest, you stupid fuck. Radio Gosh is right. You have worms in your brain.
And another sudden twitch. And then one more in his right eye. Well, say what you want, but I don't need your cooperation. I've got this.
Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there?
It's a real gun. Not like your little musketeer pistol. I've seen you prance around with that. Jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons? Going against automatic rifles with these toy guns. Of course you got those boys killed.
Damn, he saw you. He's watched it happen. He would have a good view of the tribunal from here. It's not just empty boasting. So he saw you. Okay. So what? Don't let it divert you.
Don't change the subject. We have the murder weapon.
You know what? You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it?
The lieutenant looks at the weapon demonstratively. You could say it either way, demonstratively or demonstratively, or whichever. Well, I don't know. Do you think that we have the murder weapon?
4.46 jacketed ammunition, modified for range. We have it. This is it.
Alright then, let's call it. This here is our murder weapon.
Good.
The lieutenant takes out his notebook and draws a single line.
This feels good, doesn't it? Tying things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer.
Murder.
The old man does not say more. He just glances into the reeds and twitches once more. Come on, what am I forgetting?
Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells. The dried Maybells on Clausia's roof.
That literally scared me. It's like, boonk! Oh yeah!
There were Maybells in the grass when you got here. They're revolutionary symbols from the war. Nowhere else, nowhere in all of Martinaise have you seen them this spring. Wait, don't forget the footprints. The diagonal prints in the dust in the secret space behind Clausia's bedroom. Now, they're gonna come up.
Of course. Thank you, Head. Thank you so much.
You got it. Remember, the boot prints were like no modern soul.
You're kidding me. He went in there?
Maybe don't beat yourself anymore, though. You're not immortal.
No. I just can't help but wondering what brand of boots you're wearing.
Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are? Sansa? Some shit.
Show me the soles, please, Mr. Torres.
Fucking imbecile.
The old man stretches out his leg. A black and white spiral pattern covers the sole of the worn-out, old running shoes on his feet.
The maker is Sensorique. The model is Corbeil, and the size is 43. These are not the unusual horizontal patterned soles you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room. They do, however, seem to be about the same size.
The size fits, but not the sole.
The lieutenant comes to the same conclusion. Well, I don't know, maybe it's simpler than that.
Sire, he doesn't have to be wearing them right now.
Well, people change shoes. Doesn't mean you weren't there, near the room where the victim died in, sneaking around.
Racking those brains, are you? Desperate to report something back to your masters? They must have really loved that dead fuck.
The lieutenant gives you a quick sideways glance and nods to acknowledge.
It's true, we at least had the same sized shoe. Doesn't mean that he didn't change shoes.
The prints were his. You can see it in those eyes. He can't keep them from flickering, looking for something. The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire. Silent suddenly, some strange process within him. A gush of wind. Seagulls in the distance. You've almost got him. Just the last little push.
And coincidentally enough, there were also Maybells behind the victim's window.
Damn Maybells. The whole island is turning white with them. So many this year, too. The spring is coming. No, it's already here. Wash the filth away.
You know, in all my exploration these past few days along Martinez, I haven't seen this flower anywhere, except here.
They blossom on the islets before. We fertilized them with our blood. Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it.
South, the Bay of Martinez is dotted with little freckles of islets, turning green, with white flowers in white snow.
The coast, too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with.
You must get around a lot to stay undetected all these years. Do you know any secret paths? Pinball workshops?
I may.
A curious tremor passes his face. And how about a young woman by the name of Classier? Does that ring any bells? These dried flowers were from behind her window.
Classier.
Yes, you know her, right? She had intimate relations with the victim, the mercenary.
With the victim.
He turns his sight from the whitening field of flowers and falls silent. Then the muscles in his jaw twitch. A spasm.
There is a small tremble. Looks like a smile. A crooked smile. Yet isn't quite voluntary. He's about to burst.
You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer. Armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer. Dripping with blood.
He was a soldier, too. He was a man.
Beating us to the ground. Moaning with joy. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner.
Right there. That's an admission right there. Maybe I should have killed one sooner. It's not a direct admission, but that sentence can go so far.
Got your attention. Now you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds.
He breathes through flared nostrils. I'm not gonna lie, when he said got your attention, that made me do a double take, because I literally just said, this is a great sentence for you to have said. You just admitted it. Like, my attention was right there on that sentence, and then he said, got your attention. It's like, oh.
This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him, not killed him.
So you shot him.
Oh, the inhumanity. One paramilitary less in Revachol.
You can almost see him squeeze a tear out of his eye. His fists begin to tremble from the anger. He doesn't see it as a killing. He sees it as his duty. A duty to shoot the enemy.
The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you, while the lieutenant listens, holding his breath.
I had them in my sights. Both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase. And I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth.
He begins to smile.
I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death, and that stupid look on his face. And his dick still in her.
Then what?
Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white, or what's left of it anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own. And so they did.
Mr. Dross, are you aware you're confessing to murder?
The lieutenant asks after a second of silence.
Yes.
A single word is all he gives.
And you were looking at Dan, the victim and a young woman, having sex through the scope of your rifle that night, before you shot him?
The lieutenant takes out his notebook slowly. Very slowly.
The old man nods.
Why?
Because that's what they were doing.
He shrugs, then smacks his lips.
The motive. This is where the motive is going to come from.
I don't understand. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part.
It's true that they were just doing it at that point in time, but why were you looking at them that particular night?
I'm always looking.
He cocks his head to the side, then turns his eyes to the city. Another tremor passes his right side, lower in intensity.
Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle? I'm just trying to understand.
A rifle's scope has the best magnification.
And if you don't like it?
Click.
You pull the trigger.
Yes. Think of it as a form of critique.
So, what specifically did you not like about what you saw the night of the murder?
Them. Fucking. I didn't like that.
Okay then.
Splat. A bloody spitball lands on the firewood.
So, have you been looking at anything else that you haven't liked?
A tragic comedy.
He shakes to light.
Druggies,
Oops.
Prostitutes. And rentiers.
I did not see that quotation mark.
A strange little engine seems to fire up in him again. It straightens his back. The familiar put 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 of hatred.
Specifically?
Specifically, the whole city is a charnel house. Stripped clean and draped in neon. But Martinez is the worst.
How so?
Because of the racists. Everyone is a racist in Martinez. It's their favorite thing to do in the whole world. Listening to race-themed radio shows. In the ruins, in their lorries.
He points inland.
Pumped full of steroids and Radio Revachol 92. Race this, race that. It's all sanctioned by that Social Democratic Union and the farce of a Social Democrat who runs it.
Mr. Everard Clare?
Yes, the fly larva in his container. He let some nihilistic advertising yuppies erect a statue of Philippe III, a syphilitic murderer, on the town square, to spit on the working class.
Yeah. This part that is so real world is like no matter how hard you try, no matter what anyone does, something will always find a way to become entangled in race. It, no matter how hard you try to, I mean, even trying to make shows inclusive, you could argue, is making something about race. I would say it's probably the least of all evils, trying to make making things inclusive to everyone. But for the argument that this man is making that is making something about race. That even though racist is a negative term, I suppose in this case it could also be a means to say everyone to some degree is racist. Whether it be based on the shows they watch, that might be using real world analogies, featuring predominantly white or African American actors, or portraying a culture of a particular part of the world. Media is saturated in race. And even in the real world, even if you are quite truly, honestly not a racist, there is a little part of you that still holds on to, unconsciously, a racial ideology. Everyone is, as he says, even just a little bit racist.
Not since the serfs of ancient Pericarnassus has history produced a more inert social class than the Martinez proletariat. The rest of Revachol at least pretends to rebuild. These people still live in ruins. In tents, like animals, like those boom morons on the ice. A pity they didn't drown in that tent of theirs.
He keeps shaking his head with sorrow for the sight he missed.
The worst of them is the blood-drenched Sucrion on her yacht, licking her lips. The old whore's gone now. Her gun-toting porcelain men are dead. So, actually, no. The worst is that old cop parading around in his uniform, throwing balls all day. It's not enough that the racists and liberals are dancing on our graves. The old loyalist ghouls still parade the ruins too. Every morning he's there, while the parasites he fought to protect are off in Ozon, or Quayamoran, or some other island they built their palaces on, feeding on drugs and having sex with their own children. That's all the rich really want. Sex with their own children. Throughout history, even the royal bloodline of the suzerain, it's all just an excuse for them to have sordid sex. At least that old cunt Frisell is now dead. We did good when we pushed him under that horse car. If only, in the 30s, those disco whores.
What follows is ominous mumbling. You cannot make out a single word.
The disco whores are too much. Hatred shuts down his brain's language center, leaving only a nonsensical sputter. There was something about a statue and nihilistic advertising agency people might be worth investigating.
I'm sorry, you mentioned disco whores?
Whores.
Is all he says. Even that word has to be pushed through his teeth with great force. The rage seeps too hard. There was something about the statue on the roundabout you mentioned, and syphilis?
Syphilis is a disease Philip III contracted in a whorehouse. The statue is an abomination.
Ah, I see. Well, now that that's settled. He sputters attentively. You also mentioned that the Union is social democratic, and Mr. Clare is a farce of a social democrat.
Another hideous disappointment. Unions are the real enemy. The true enemy of the proletariat. Placating the masses.
Disappointment. So personal. He displays a familiarity with the Union's top brass.
Everard Clare's a disappointment?
That deformed toad? I wouldn't expect him to wipe his own ass. I mean, the brains of the operation. The smart one.
Edgar.
Everard's brother, Edgar.
He talks a big game about uprising and social base. They must have sent the smart one to some university in Le Jardin, where it's alienation this and hegemony that.
And have you talked to Edgar?
First against the wall with him.
He stops poking at the ash now, just shakes his head.
The Clares wouldn't miss a man hidden in their own backyard. Not all this time. Nothing happens in Martinez without them knowing.
Of course. Maybe the Clears asked him to.
I think so. There's no way they would miss him. No way. Have you approached the Clares?
I haven't approached anyone. I hid. It was Edgar who came to me.
How did he know you were here?
He didn't just stumble in like an oaf. He figured it out. Some kids told him about a monster on the island. I told you, he has brains.
He points to the path leading to the tower.
Stepped right off the boat and walked down where you came. I even kept the door open for him. Thought he was a man of the left, wouldn't rat me out. I was right about one of those things.
And when was this?
20 years ago. Neither of them could walk now, could they? They were less fat then.
That's around the time the Clears came to power.
And do you remember what you talked about?
Edgar did the talking. Paid his respects like I were a fossil in a uniform. Offered platitudes about the struggle. Flaunted his pink degree. Even quoted Markov. Never trust a social democrat who quotes Markov. Oh, and charity too. They love their charity. Offered me blankets and social housing. I still have the gas cooker he brought.
And he just let you be here.
Let me be here? The ZOC is an unlawful successor of the Commune of Revachol. We took this fortification from the Loyalists. Even the Clares understand this.
They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy. But why such a courtesy?
Interesting, yeah. I mean, granted, it was 20 years ago, they could have been different people, but they understood him. Quote-unquote understood, but there is the undertone of understanding, clearly. They could have just easily said, bye. They honestly could have just said that. Huh. Mr. Mr. Dross, I'm sorry. Allow me to be blunt here. Did you kill the Crenel mercenary for the Clares? To incite a riot?
I'm not doing anything for that swine again.
He shakes his head.
Again? What have you done for Edgar before?
Tried teaching him some Marzovian socioeconomics. They didn't stick. We parted ways.
He coughs.
Okay, he didn't do the hanged man for them. But he's insinuating something.
And by the cock parading in his colorful uniform, you mean René?
Every fucking morning. For 34 years. Throwing that ball. One ball against the other. I've always loathed that game. That is not a working class game. I don't care what they say on Radio June. Royalist ghouls played like it was life itself. Click, clack across the water each day. And that uniform, like a parrot plumage. I won't even mention that he's a traitor to his race. A petanque maniac race traitor. I remember him. I remember him from La Noce. Not him personally, his make and model. There were tens of thousands of them. I thought we took them all out before the liberals came to their rescue. We missed one. That one.
With a shaky finger, he points to the city, toward a crater near the plaza, where a lonely pine tree stands.
There doesn't seem to be a single person under the pine today. Not even Gaston. Alone.
Fat and plump, like a pheasant, just begging to be popped off. Please, Mr. Dross, shoot me.
You'd like to kill him.
Not yet. I like to look at him strut around, place the crosshair on his medals, right on his face, and just fiddle the trigger. Think about it. Let the bonbon melt in my mouth.
Save the treat for later?
The lieutenant asks cheerfully.
He is a juicy bonbon, that one. A real treat for the black day. The blackest. When I put that gun in my own mouth, I think, no, don't waste it. Put this lead in that cock, René. For the boys he killed. And then I look at him throw those balls, and I suddenly feel
He lets out a wistful sigh.
better. I even hid one bullet, so I'd always have one for him. Haven't seen him around lately, strutting around. Must be down with arthritis. I hope it hurts like hell. I hope he sweats blood.
Bad arthritis. Yeah. He's not playing this week.
Yes, of course. I hope it hurts like hell. I hope he sweats blood. Must be torture. Not to be throwing his balls for a whole week.
He seems relieved. Could he have been worried for him?
I think he was. I mean, you can't be a sniper looking at your marks and not even to some small degree feel a connection with them. Now, connection doesn't necessarily have to be a positive term like some people would sometimes be led to believe. No. For him as a sniper, I can imagine, like, all he sees are these people, his marks. He needs to be able to understand how they operate on a day-to-day basis before he takes his shot. Lele was kind of a small exception in that he just came in for a couple days and whatnot, but a trained sniper would be able to notice patterns in movement, in day-to-day livelihood. So for him, I guess he can't help but to feel some small connection to René. And I could not, tell him the truth. I could not.
He reminds him of himself. The same hatred. The same. You try to think of another thing, but no. It's just the hatred.
You know, about that René.
Yes, where is he? I hope he doesn't have debilitating arthritis. Okay.
Never mind.
Yes.
He
Yes.
seems
Bye.
relieved. He reminds him of himself. The same hatred. The same. You try to think of another thing, but no. It's just the hatred.
I want to know what is that deal. I want to raise my logic. I have so many points, oh my god. Oh, that's kind of frightening. That's a lot of points. 9 points, Jesus. Logique? One more. There we go. Thank you. 9. Yes.
The
Oh, good.
connection comes to you like a splash of cold water. Dark, cold water.
Wait a minute. Wait, you said It was 20 years ago when you first met Edgar. The Clares didn't run the Union yet, did they? A sputter from the old man.
He acknowledges it. Here we go. A twist behind the dark bend.
You know, I just figured I'd use it because I'm pretty sure this is endgame right here. So who did?
That bourgeois cow. Tiffin Holly was her name. Licked the rich man's hand every time he came to town. Never seen a labor leader so hot on mutual cooperation. And money. She liked that too. That Holly was a real bridge builder and a deal maker.
Her eyes glistened suddenly, with hatred. She was also a woman, wasn't she?
She was. And she was real soft on those money men. Had a Barbara Muskova bag over her shoulder that she liked to bring to work.
And she just disappeared.
Called in, they say. On the eve of battle. Ran away. Vanished like a piss stain.
He squints and smiles at the black logs.
No, that's not quite it, is it?
I don't think so either.
Did she? They say her daughter called in, not her personally. But that wasn't really her daughter, was it?
No, I guess it was not.
You could swear you could see the embers glow again under his eyes on the dust. Edgar had someone make that call. And why's that, Mr. Dross?
She couldn't make the call herself.
Here it is. The bend in the river.
Why?
Because she was dead.
Just say nothing.
The cow caught a bullet in her right lung. Fell into the canal grasping her tit and drowned. Or bled? Hard to say. It was a sloppy job. And a moving target. She was going home. Waddling. Dressed in yellow. Drunk like she often was. The ruins are black around her, and she had a yellow leather bag under her arm. She tried to cross the canal, heading home to Grand Couronne or Betancourt, someplace like that, where they build those new bâtiments for the people who flourish in the hell around her, and the ruins.
You shot her.
Someone shot her, or maybe the cow just fell. My memory is full of holes. All I know is nothing changed. Not in the material base, not in the hegemony. There was no uprising. Just words. The Union fizzled, sogged. Nothing came of it. Nothing.
Edgar didn't keep his part of the deal.
Sputtered again. Nothing more.
If you were to testify to this, give the RCM something on Edgar, you could walk.
The lieutenant says in a voice even calmer, as if it were nothing at all. The testimony of an accomplice.
We would strike everything you've done and process you as a POW. You were in a war. You were on assignment. We could even extradite you to the Samaran People's Republic.
A degenerate worker state. Goat shit. No, thank you. I'm Revacholian. My days are short. I will rot away here, in a moral intern cell. I will not testify to anything.
He coughs. Okay then. Then that's that. But I know.
All you know is I saw it happen, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Her plump body, bobbing up and down in that canal like a cork. That chick yellow bag still on her, strangling her.
Cold black coals look at the canal. Then at you. Blink. Well, I'm glad that we got this over with. Now,
Glad? It's all gone.
he stares into the dust at his feet. Gray and dirty spring grass all around. If you don't mind if I asked about the people you don't like.
His lip curls.
Never mind.
Glad? It's all gone.
Where's my composure? Oh, my composure's right here. I'll give it a shot. I'm not gonna go gung-ho on that, but I'll give it a shot. Not exactly much, but...
I've
No, I didn't
used
want
it.
that,
Killing
Jesus.
It's a gun. I've used.
Interesting.
There isn't.
So this is it. The great, go in. No, don't mess this up. Remember,
Oh my god, do I really have to do this whole thing? Of all the places to misclick.
Did you?
a drop exhaust, the gun,
The one with the
something about it.
longest...
You're lost.
Thank you,
Dwight.
Jesus.
You're lost.
The one with the longest line I had to misclick. Oh my goodness.
What
Okay,
strikes
good.
you about this gaunt man is not the stomach pain, or the cough, or the malnutrition. It's precisely what you could not see before. For a man who spent 44 years in the urban wild.
He's surprisingly okay.
Indeed, he speaks fluidly. His movements are rapid, if erratic. His voice, despite the cough, is there. It is capable of expressing complicated ideas. Above all, he seems animated.
But by what?
It's a mystery. This animation comes at a cost too. Erratic hand gestures, thought processes cut off like threads, as he just stares at the logs or the reeds. He also suffers mood swings, bubbling to the surface, unconstrained by his nervous system.
Dementia? He did say he had holes in his memory.
You've seen demented people before. This feels similar, yet different. When his thoughts move, they are lucid, keen even, not senile.
I didn't think he had a memory problem, but it would make sense why he has holes. Mr. Dross, are you okay? How's your memory?
No, I'm not okay. I shit blood, and I'm surrounded by insane people.
There it is again, erratic hand motions, bouts of rage, and the stomach thing too, of course.
And I think all of that would have been, you know, a thing, but yeah. I mean, it's fine, I got it now, but probably would have opened up a couple new things along the way. Yosef Lilianovich Dross. You're under arrest for the murder of Ellis Courtenaire.
Officer, are we sure? We could maybe get more.
I believe we've been thorough enough, Kim.
Josef Lilianovich Dross, you are under arrest for the murder of Ellis Courtenaire. You will be taken to the nearest precinct holding area for preliminary investigation.
What? But you said I would be taken to the...
The wind picks up. The silence on the water is broken all around you. Little shivers of waves appear. The lieutenant continues, like an incantation.
Your wayfarer rights have been suspended. Information provided to the officers on the scene will be used against you by the prosecution. You will be given legal counsel within 1 week and must face court in 44 days. Do you understand? Do you understand?
But...
Do you understand, sir?
No, I don't want to. I have to stay here.
He looks at the reeds, eyes submerged in growing terror.
He's sweating. Beads are forming on his forehead.
Your confirmation is not required, sir. Now on to the boat.
Nine, 5.
There it is again, to your north, as it has been since you came to the coast. The reeds whisper, stalks rubbing against each other. But then, in the middle of it,
What?
something completely different. It sounds like a bow, very slowly being drawn against the strings of a violin. A very small violin, made of reeds and rushes.
Maybe there is room for 3 on the boat.
Shh. Kim, do you hear that?
What?
What are you talking about? Is this really us?
Your skin crawls.